Hey guys, in this episode I'll be featuring the Bruce Lee collection of Milt Tapp and his Bruce Lee journey, and it's coming right up. Hey guys, Charles Damiano back from the Bruce Lee collection for another exciting episode. In this episode, I'll be featuring the Bruce Lee collection of collector Milt Tapp out of Baltimore, Maryland. Now, we featured Milt on the show about 6 months ago, and I was so impressed with his vintage Bruce Lee collection. And I know a lot of you were as well, because his video and episode did really well. And I said, Milt, why don't we do a part 2 of your Bruce Lee collection, talking about any new collectibles you had and collectibles that you didn't feature in episode 1. And he was very excited to share the rest of his collection with us. But he did something a little different. He said, Charles, do you mind if I actually video myself showing and talking about my collection and collectibles and how I got started on my Bruce Lee journey, and I'll put a video together for you and we'll feature to the fans. And I thought it was a great idea, and Milt just put together a wonderful presentation of the rest of his Bruce Lee collectibles. On the first episode, we featured his top 10, and the thing about Milt is he's a very vintage collector. He collected from the 1970s, so he has a lot of the classic vintage materials like the Fighting Stars and Black Belt magazines and all the Bruce Lee paperbacks that came out in the early 70s. And I just love vintage material, and I know you guys are going to enjoy this as well. And in the same token, you're going to really hear from Milt himself explain how he got into Bruce Lee collecting and what his Bruce Lee journey was all about. So for now, sit back and enjoy the beautiful Bruce Lee collection of Milt Tapp. Enjoy, guys.
Warner Brothers presents Enter the Dragon, the first martial arts film produced by a major Hollywood studio.
What's up, everybody? I'm Milt Tapp, and welcome to part 2 of my collection. You know, my first episode I had such great feedback from all of you, and I really appreciate that Charles reached out to me and asked me, hey Milt, would you do a second episode? And I said, no problem, man. So I'll do it. So here we are. Enter the Dragon by far was my favorite Bruce Lee movie of all time, as you can see in my intro. I love that opening scene. So when I first went to the theater back in '75 to see it, when the previews finally ended, and then in the background I sat down, I got locked in, my palms started getting sweaty, my heart started pumping, and I was like, oh yeah, I was like I was in the fight myself. And then all of a sudden, those big W shot at you from Warner Brothers, and that drum roll, I said, oh man, I just almost stood up, and I started watching, and then I seen 2 guys come onto the screen. I seen one kind of meaty guy, and I said, that ain't Bruce Lee. Then I seen this slim, cut up guy, so I knew they had to be him. Right? So as the fight went on, and the scene what was going on, like I said, I thought I was in the first scene fighting myself. I was, as a 12-year-old kid, because particularly in that particular scene, I didn't even hear anything. There was no dialogue, you couldn't hear anything. I didn't hear the smacks or nothing. It was just that loud. Anytime you go to a Bruce Lee movie, it's so loud you can't hear anything. But as a 12-year-old kid, I was visualized, I was locked in. I said, oh man, I was in awe. A truly unique experience. And unless you were there and the folks that saw it in the cinemas, you know what I'm talking about, you just had to be there. It was awesome. It was just awesome. My Bruce Lee journey started 49 years ago, back in 1973. Actually, the Kung Fu craze was out all over the city. And everybody wanted to see this amazing martial artist by the name of Bruce Lee. Everybody. You can hear it on the streets at night, street corner at night, talking about it. Everybody wanted to hear it. You go to little house parties. They said, man, did you see that Bruce Lee? That guy's bad. So anyway, my father got the fever. So he packed up my sister, my mother, and I, took us to the Collins Drive-In. And back in, that's 1973, back in Collins Drive-In. And the two movies that were playing at the time were Angela Mayo and Lady Kung Fu. Let me show you right. Okay.
Here comes the lethal lady of Kung Fu. Lady Kung Fu. She's the crack karate queen who really drives men mad.
Angela Mayo, Lady Kung Fu. Nice picture. Yes. And like I said, it was playing with the double feature. My first intro to Bruce is a Chinese Connection. Yeah. And throughout the movie, you know, I didn't know too much about Bruce at the time. I was so locked into Angela Mayo because I've never seen a woman fight like that. I mean, she was kicking butt. I've never seen that. Like I said, I've never seen anything like it. So I wasn't locked in. I was in the back seat as the fight was going on. My little sister and I was punching me. I punched the bag. Wasn't paying much attention. And the only scene I remember in Chinese Connection was when Bruce chopped Bob Baker's neck, Petrov. And my father jumped in his seat, you know, like it startled him. He said, "He's crazy." And I looked up, and all I can see was Petrov's head falling forward. I said, oh, and that is the only time I ever remembered from Chinese Connection. But I said, wow, you know. But the craze was there. In 1974, my family moved from Turner Station, Maryland, into Baltimore City, Northeast Baltimore City. And there is where I met my martial arts buddy, my workout buddy, Keith Walls. And he took me up to his room, and I seen on the wall a movie poster, Fist of Fury. I said, whoa, man, where'd you get that from? And he later took me downtown and showed me where he bought all his memorabilia. And hey, the rest is history. As far as my collection, the rest is history. I purchased a great deal of my memorabilia from Sherman's bookstore on the southwest corner on Marbury and Park Avenue. His old bookmark from the store back in the day. Now, and here's Sherman. Here's Sherman, right here. That's Abe Sherman there, and that's his bookstore. And I tell you, you couldn't go into Sherman's bookstore and loiter around, because he'd run you out of there. You know, I can remember to this day. He said, "Hey, you gonna buy something? Yeah, you gonna buy something?" I said, yeah, hey, you gotta worry about me. I'm buying something. Shucks. So anyway, the first piece of Bruce Lee memorabilia I bought was right here. When I first went to Sherman's bookstore, I seen this poster hanging from the rafters of this picture of Bruce Lee fighting Ball. I said, oh man, And this poster was like, I think $2.50 at the time, $2.50. And back in those days, my mom used to give me a $10 a week allowance. And I'd take that $10 and I'd buy any and everything on Bruce Lee I could. And the fun thing about collecting Bruce Lee memorabilia, like that scene right there, you try to visualize where in the movie that particular scene happened. And I did that with all my memorabilia. Because I haven't seen Enter the Dragon yet. So it's still early. I haven't seen Enter the Dragon yet. But that poster there was the first piece of memorabilia I bought. In 1974, I saw Return of the Dragon for the first time. Here you go. See the picture of Return of the Dragon right here. I see Return of the Dragon for the first time in '74, followed up by Fist of Fury, because I haven't seen that yet either. So I seen Fist of Fury. And it wasn't until 1975 that I saw Enter the Dragon. And it was playing with a double feature. And they did that a lot back in the 70s. You can see two movies in one, sometimes triple features. And the first time I seen it, it was playing with Superfly. Superfly, that was a cold movie. I like that, yeah. But I want to see Bruce, but I had to sit through Superfly twice. Now, granted, I saw Enter the Dragon twice that day because I was in there from 10 to about 8 o'clock that night. So I've seen 4 movies that day. But yeah, Superfly, cool movie. Okay, in 1976, I saw Enter the Dragon again. This time with another double feature. But this time, it was playing with, I'll tell you in a second, as soon as I get the poster up, it was playing with Hot Potato. Okay. Here's Jim Kelly. Can you see that real good? All right. Yeah. Jim Kelly and Hot Potato. And, you know, it's not one of the best for me, but I had to sit through it twice because I wanted to see Enter the Dragon twice. So back in those days, Enter the Dragon could have been playing with, I don't know. Well, you just visualize the worst movie you saw out there, and I would have saw it if it was playing with Enter the Dragon. And I also, you know, like I said, as I mentioned earlier, it was also playing with Blazing Saddles. So I saw it with Blazing Saddles as well, as you can see right here in the paper clipping here. And as I mentioned in part 1 of my video, I saw Enter the Dragon in the theaters 22 times from the period of 74 to 79. Because one of the reasons, because it was playing with a double feature. But at the same time, it didn't bother me because every time I saw it anywhere and everywhere I could see it. And like I said, it's my favorite movie, loved it. Okay, so let's make our way to the next room so I can show you some of the items that weren't displayed in my first video. So here we go. I also love to write, and I used to communicate or correspond with any and everyone who shared the same Bruce Lee, the same interest in Bruce Lee as I did. And this one particular club is called Dragon. And in the back, way before YouTube, you can see how these folks here actually corresponded with right here. They were part of the newsletter, and you could write, you know, and they always back out to you. And it was a fun thing to do back in the days. Like I said, we didn't have YouTube, so there's no way we had to correspond with folks. And I also, well, let me show you something. I wrote a letter, part of this correspondence, and wrote a letter to me, one of the biggest Bruce Lee fans in the 70s. And I'd like to share it with you right quick. This also came from the Dragon Club. They said, "Dear Milton, thank you for such a nice letter some time ago. I can't keep up with them all. Your dreams and ambitions are the same as mine, except that I have already met Linda, one of the things I want to do. I'm already at the museum. This is the museum in California that they started. And I'm hoping to pay respects at Bruce Lee's grave this summer and possibly go to Hong Kong as soon as more plans are here in the museum." And of course, I was fortunate enough to see Bruce Lee's grave. I seen it back in 1990 for the first time. And tell you, if you ever been, go. It's a unique experience. Check it off your bucket list and go ahead and go. Okay, would you like to send me a snapshot of yourself for the gallery of fans I'm creating? I'd really appreciate it. Do right again. Best wishes. His name is Norman Marine. Let's see if you can see it right quick here. I'm sorry, excuse me for the reflection. There we go. Yeah, Norman Marine. Here are some of the corresponding letters I used to write to folks. Actually, corresponding letters, and also where I ordered Bruce Lee posters and supplies. For instance, Kung Fu Prince. Back in '77, I wrote this one. Kung Fu Inc. It's out of Puerto Rico. It's Scholastic Book Services. And this is where I actually got a copy of the Dynamite Bruce Lee magazine. Golden Sports out of New Jersey. Kung Fu Supplies, this actually was in Hong Kong. Milt Tapp in New York. It's 213 Canal Street, New York. Chinatown. Gift City. Also out of the Bronx, New York. Rainbow Publications. And Jerry Ollinger's Movie House. Just to name a few. You know, one of the first actual articles was written about Bruce Lee and Kung Fu was in this National Star newspaper. This is the first premiere issue back in February 9th, 1974. It had an eight-page spread on Bruce Lee. And also, if you go to page 38, you can also they had an article. We ordered two posters, one of David Carradine and one of Bruce Lee. Of course, I didn't want David Carradine's poster, of course. So I wanted the Bruce Lee poster. And for 40 cents, you could order, you send them 40 cents, they'll send you a poster. Now for 40 cents, I thought I'd be getting 8 by 10, a little small poster, but this is what they actually sent. It's an National Star poster. And again, I apologize for the glare if it's in there, but yeah, that's a better view of it right there. Beautiful poster for 40 cents. I started my Bruce Lee collection in 1974, and I collected up until 1979, upon the time I enlisted in the United States Air Force. So I packed I packed all my items up and I stored them in my attic. And it wasn't until 1997 that I took them out of the attic and said, hey, I want to start collecting again and start displaying my items. I didn't start collecting hard until 2000. And as you can see, these are most items that I've accumulated since 2000. And I would like to start talking about some, and also I'd like to show you some additional items that weren't featured in the first episode of my collection. This is a real nice collection here. I thought it was real nice. These are cards from various Bruce Lee movies. This is from The Big Boss. The next movie, Fist of Fury. Yeah, I like these. Real nice. Here's Way of the Dragon. All the characters of the movie. Okay. And here we go to Enter the Dragon. And that's Lee, who played himself. Okay. Yeah. Keep that in a nice little binder here. Okay, this is Blitzway statue number 2. A 2 of 4 statues that Blitzway came out with. And this is some Game of Death. This is a gold special edition collection here. Beautiful statue. this wasn't featured in the first episode, but this is another Blitzway statue from Way of the Dragon. Look at the detail. Look at the muscles in his chest and shoulders and biceps. That's really cool, man. I like this as well. Yeah. Those Blitzway statues are really beautiful. Okay, over here, these are the stages of cultivation. Okay. We'll go from bottom to top. You have emptiness, fluidity, partiality, and using no way as way, having no limitation as limitation. It's a beautiful, these are beautiful plaques. This is here is the first Blitzway statue that came out. It's from Enter the Dragon. This is beautiful as well. And the special edition items came with the Hans claw. If you pre-order them, actually if you pre-order them, that's special edition. You pre-order them, you get the Hans claw. And these are some various magazines that I picked up along the way. Over here is my small figure collection. My small figurines. Let me open it up so you can get a good view here. Okay. This top shelf is my Enter the Dragon theme. I love the way they display in these cabinets. These little Funko Pop figurines right here are really cool too. Rudy Ramirez, he came out with special edition items. This one right here, it's called Blood Spatter. They're really cool too. And the majority of these figurines I ordered online through eBay and been visiting various Chinatowns, San Francisco, Las Vegas. And I've been through New York back in '79, prior to joining the military. I picked up a poster there, but I didn't get no figurines there. Here's the second level, here's a Game of Death. Stroll on down here. Most of these are from Chinese Connection, Fist of Fury, and the lone Big Boss Flying Kick there. Well, this is the Green Hornet theme down here, mostly. These two Funko Pops in the corner, my son, he collects them, he gave it to me. I said they're pretty cool, so I had to add them to my collection. This pose here, that's a limited edition item there because it had the brown pants from Enter the Dragon, and this was the regular one that came out. I just got both of them because I thought both of them were cool. Okay, now this is the third of the Blitzway statues, holding the flying, a sidekick. Bruce holding the sidekick. That's a beautiful statue. And I thought I'd add some Kinderpo gloves to the collection. I had a pair in the 70s. They were old, beat up, and worn. So I just got another pair so I can have them on display because those are nice gloves. And I think that's Sammo Hung here as Bruce's opponent. And this is the only figure this is the only figure here that I picked up from what we've seen in the Dragon. But hey, it's cool. Over here, it's picture Kato. And here's the Black Beauty. That was one of my favorite items in the first episode. Collection of Bruce Lee cars. And this one here, I'd like to talk a little about. This is special, okay? As you see here is a picture of Bruce Lee. And as most of you know, or for those who don't know, Bruce Lee ordered a Rolls Royce Corniche from the proceeds, he imagined he was going to make money into the Dragon. He went on an order. They went on. You have to take 6 months to order these vehicles, and he went on the list. And he used to talk about it on the set with Jim Kelly and John Saxon a lot. He's real anxious and happy about it. And unfortunately, he passed before the car was complete and the car was never delivered. But had he received the car, it would look something like this. This is a real cool Rolls Royce. Over here is his Mercedes that he actually owned. 1972 Mercedes SL. I tell you, Bruce had class. He loved cars as well. And here's him in a pose with his car. And this first cabinet here are some magazines that weren't displayed in my first video, so I'd like to share them with you here. That's Esquire magazine, August '73. In that magazine, Alex Ben Block did a interview, over the phone interview, while Bruce was filming Way of the Dragon. And the name of the interview is The Hong Kong Style. It's in this magazine. So here's a picture of John Saxon, Black Belt magazine, at the time the Dragon came out, August '73. Okay. Here's his brother in Black Belt. And here's the August '74 yearbook. Here, in this magazine here, book here, I put that together as unpublished photos from the Green Hornet. I'll skim right through them right quick. Excuse me here. Okay. Yeah, these are pretty good photos, nice photos. If you're a Kato fan, man, you gotta love it. Gotta love it. Get that glare off there for you, okay. Okay, there's Wendy Wagner. And in here, that is the second part of the unpublished photos. That's some photos meant to the Dragon. Of course, the Bruce Lee way. So down here, that's Dynamite magazine. Those magazines are pretty cool back in the day, '75. This particular magazine came with a poster. And I've seen these on, this you can order now, but the poster's not there. So be leery if it doesn't come with a poster. Both of these have the posters intact. These Deadly Hands of Kung Fu magazines are pretty cool as well. These are like '70s magazine. Okay, this here is an interesting magazine. This is Wing Chun Illustrated. Okay. I mean, are you familiar with that? Angela Mayo here. And a couple of books, series, the Green Hornet series and Longstreet. I don't have too many books on Brandon. I just have these two here. Horror Hound, The Crow, and this Inside Kung Fu magazine, February 1994. And these two magazines here, actually these are auction booklets that came from the Peace, Love, and Brotherhood selection by Herb Jackson. And this auction was on 26 May 2018. And this came to Heritage Auctions. What's interesting about this, have y'all ever heard heard about Bruce Lee drug letters? Well, anyway, these letters were written from him to Bob Baker, who played Chinese Connection. The letters in here, folks have their stories about them. Me personally, I'm not going to comment on it. But the letters were sold at the auction, and you can see them in this book here. Here's an interesting book here. This is Sick magazine, equivalent to a Mad magazine back in the day. And they did articles on movies. And it's funny, interesting to read these things. This was December 1973. Had an article of Bruce Lee in here, and they compared him to Clint Eastwood. They used to write. I like reading those articles back in the day because they were funny, hilarious. Okay, this next cabinet. This is my favorite here because this had a lot of really good magazines. Of course, the Best of Bruce Lee Volume 1, Fighting Stars, first edition of Fighting Stars. And this one here is unique, Inside Kung Fu. That's premiere issue. They're very rare and they're hard to get nowadays. I stumbled on a copy in really, really very good condition, almost mint condition. It's really nice. And really lucky, I wanted this magazine almost bad as I wanted the first issue of The Fighting Stars. Bruce Lee Slams Conformity, Black Belt, September 1971. I look fortunate to get my hands on this copy here. And these magazines here, of course, Fighting Stars. One guy was selling his collection back in '76. And this was part of the collection. I jumped all over it. I said, okay, fine. I took that one. And this other second one here, I just happened to have. But these, in that order description came these magazines too as well. These, I think Young Idol magazines. This one and this one, they came together. Of course, there's Han there. And various magazines here that I've collected. These came from England. I think Ricky Baker, I ordered these from Mr. Baker. Real nice magazines. And last but not least, this cabinet right here. Of course, this cabinet was featured in part 1. These are actual audio from Into the Dragon. Radio spots. When they actually advertise a movie here on radio, it's all in this CD right here. The Bruce Lee book here, one of my favorites. Into the Dragon, A Warrior's Journey. Loved it. You can do a whole video just on that book alone. Matthew Polly's book, Taiyo Jeet Kune Do. Okay, The Orphan. Let me see. Unsolved Matters. Let's go down here. Okay. Pretty interesting book here. The Death of Bruce Lee. The author's rendition of how Bruce Lee died. It's all in here. The Disciples of Bruce Lee there. The Dragon and the Tiger. No More Marines book, The King of, The World of Bruce Lee, excuse me. Okay. Bruce Lee's Fighting Methods. And these are 2 signed copies of Shannon Lee's book, Be Water, My Friend. I don't have anything signed by Bruce Lee, so I figure I'd like to get something signed by a member of his family, so I purchased 2 copies, 2 signed copies. And Bruce Lee 4 Seasons Weekly, Steve Courage, Mandarin Superstar, and it's another part 2 of this book's coming out from I think 69 to 71. excuse me, 72 to 73, about Fist of Fury. This is Big Boss, Fist of Fury. And Golden Movie News, another one by Steve Kirsch. On the wall there are paintings that I actually received I bought from a swap meet. Yeah. And I paid $5 for all 5 of them. I just framed them up, and they really look good. Okay. Over here, it's my Interbay collection. It's Fist of Fury, or Big Boss. 75th anniversary here of Game of Death. And Wing Spread from Way the Dragon. These are all eBay. Bruce here, also eBay. Casual pose, not the t-shirt. Slide right down here. Fist of Fury. Here, again, Way of the Dragon. It's all eBay. Here is a painting by Milton Wong. Real nice painting of Bruce from Return of the Dragon, Way of the Dragon. As you can see here, he signs most of his pictures, Milton. All right, good job, Milt. Good name, by the way, as well. Start here. Let's just go around for one quick capture. This concludes part 2 of my collection. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it. And I also want to give a shout out to Charles Damiano for allowing me to tell my journey all about Bruce Lee. So, as Charles would say as he ends his episodes, happy collecting, peace, and take care, everybody. Catch y'all later. Come here, little girl. Come here. Come here. Her name is Jazz. How you doing, Jazz? I thought I'd show you off to all the Bruce Lee fans out there. How you doing, girly, girly? Yeah, this is my little baby.
Hey guys, welcome back. Wasn't that an incredible presentation by Milt Tapp? First off, I want to thank Milt. Milt, thank you very much for presenting your Bruce Lee collectibles to us. The presentation was just incredible. We really enjoyed it. So thanks once again for getting that together. I know you mentioned it's no easy task videoing yourself and explaining your Bruce Lee journey at the same time as sharing your collectibles with people. So thank you very much for doing that. Secondly, for those of you who are new to the channel and haven't subscribed, please remember to hit the subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up. And thirdly, I want to always thank you guys, the fans and collectors, for keeping me going, keeping the channel exciting, and always sharing your wonderful comments with the fans and collectors out there. So until next time, Charles Damiano signing out from the Bruce Lee Collection, saying as always, have fun collecting, and I'll see you guys next Friday. Take care, guys.
What's your style?
My style? You can call it the art of fighting without fighting.
Oh!